Yo, yo, what is going on? Welcome to the Put On Podcast. I am co host Cal, and we've got my guy Derek here. What's going on, D? How are you?
What's up, bro? I was actually just talking to our producer Zach before we started recording, just on like the way that people change their voice when they're doing like a podcast or radio, start having that radio voice. But I don't know, that was just something right off the top that I was thinking about.
Why, you think I
Gonna
got a radio voice? Is that what you're saying?
no, I want to keep it natural, like me personally, and not just like turn into Casey Kasem, like the traditional the traditional radio guy.
I got you. I got you. Um, so yeah, no, I mean, I love the logo behind you. First of all, I just want to say that.
Yeah,
Um,
let me show everybody watching at home. Pretty
why don't
cool,
why
right?
why don't we dive into, the inspo and a little bit of the premise of, what the Put On Pod is?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think like to take this step back, you and I, we've met through Vayner, which is where we work. You're on the Vayner Sports Pass side of things, right? Doing the
Yeah,
NFT project and involved in the sports biz that's going on there and the whole Web3 world. And I am at 1:37 p.m. I'm a creative director, but we met in Vayner Sports Pass, and I think it's funny because you're a young guy, you're 21 years old, right?
yeah,
And you're single guy, you're in Alberta, Canada, right? Just
yeah.
coming up, young prodigy, and I am the washed up,
Okay.
married with kids, veteran, uh, almost 40 years old, pushing close to 40. But I think you and I hit it off right away when we met. I guess it was like close to a year now, year ago
Yeah,
or so, maybe less. Um, just on putting each other onto things, personal development, improving our lives. And we realized like we both love to read, we both love music, sports, but just doing things to improve our lives and enjoy our lives, right? Whether it be on mental health things, learning. And I think
no
we're
doubt.
both big learners, and so we thought, let's do a podcast where we can put each other onto things and put other people onto things and share those ideas with the world.
Yeah, no, I think you nailed it. And I do remember, you know, the first time you and I spoke on Zoom, whatever, 9, 10 months ago. And obviously, being in the NFT space and Web3, things are moving 100 miles an hour. And I remember you coming in and just kind of being like, oh, what's this? What's that? And the first thing I noticed about you is, holy shit, this motherfucker's curious. Like, he's got a million questions. And
Super
so
curious.
I really I took a liking to that, obviously, and here we are. So yeah, I mean, what's how's we talked what a few weeks ago. I was in New York, kind of checking it out at Christmas time. How was the holidays? What'd you get up to?
The holidays were a great time. Obviously, like a lot of people, a time to reflect, right? I had a really kind of unique holiday in that um, I have a wife and two kids, and a lot of New Yorkers, during the holiday break, like to go down to Florida and get into some warm weather.
Oh, that's the
My
classic.
wife, yeah,
Like,
that's kind of like especially I'm from Long Island, and it's like a mass exodus over the Christmas break where people just go down to Florida and just get out of the cold. I didn't go down to Florida. My wife actually took my kids to her in-laws who have a place down there and left me at home, and I had a staycation. And yo, it was it was crazy. I mean, I don't even know, like crazy. I'm saying crazy, and like you would think, like, oh, crazy, like he partied. No, it was crazy. Just waking up in the morning, complete silence in my house, and no responsibilities. And I would drink coffee. I read a bunch of books. I went for long walks. I watched a lot of good documentaries and shows, and it was re-energizing. And but halfway through, I started to miss my family. But it was like seeing almost what it's like to be single again in some ways, and I felt as though maybe like I could relate to you, Cal, like a little bit just from being
Yeah,
home. But yeah, but
just
what
the
about you,
simple
bro?
things, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, no, good break for sure. It got super cold out here in Canada, so there was a decent amount of staying inside. But no, I spent a few days on the ski hill. Went with some friends. Had some my godparents show up who I haven't seen in probably 20 years. So chilled with their family, and then yeah, other than the skiing in the mountains, to your point, like I find that you know the holiday period is such a weird time because you've got people who are bang I got all these new things I want to do in the new year, and you got people who have been doing that since December 24th, and it's just like this period of some people are super chilling, some people want to go and do stuff, some people just want to party, and so yeah, I found myself being able to actually relax for the first time in the whole fucking year, honestly. So it was nice to just chill out for the last couple of weeks and, like to your point, read documentaries, just be able to do things that like you actually want to do. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to.
That's great. It is such a weird thing where like you're working so hard, especially towards the end of the year, and then a lot of people take their foot off the gas. But even during the break, I know, yeah, I really had to almost like kind of wire my brain where it's like, okay,
Yeah,
I want to do this, I want to do that, and then I kept having to remind myself like, just don't do anything, like just chill, like especially you're never like I never get time away from my kids and my wife, where it's just me by myself. And I made this joke to a lot of friends where like I'd be waking up and it felt like I'm like in the mountains of Nepal, like like a monk,
crazy.
like just
Yeah,
complete silence and just I could hear the birds chirping. But I really took that time to just unplug in a big way. And then you come back from the break and it always feels like it's not enough time, and then you're right back into that mode. And um I think a big thing that's been on my mind is just I don't make like New Year's resolutions necessarily, but I'm definitely one of those guys that I go into a new year and I'm like, how do I reset? Like, how do I focus on the things that matter,
I'm with
or the
you.
things that, yeah, that I care about, and not get bogged down in those daily kind of like responsibilities, those daily tasks that just can consume your time. And so I don't know. I feel as though I'm like a new person, but really all I did was take a week off, you know?
I think we talked about it though, right? I think that just with the amount of time everyone has around the New Year's and this time of year, it's great for self-reflection. So us both having time to ourselves, we had a lot of time to think and reflect on the year and reflect on, what's going well, what isn't. And I think that obviously being curious people and being very self-aware, at least for myself, like I want to find balance in things more. Like the key word for me going into 2023 is balance. And I just think that like obviously life is about balance, whether that be work, work, home life, or whatever it is. So that was kind of my key word going into 2023 and my self reflection because I feel like again you get so bogged down with things that maybe your health drops, which is what happened, or like so that's
Yeah.
that's that's where I'm at. Balance.
I do think we should get into it right now because
Proceedings, I agree.
yeah,
I
the purpose of this pod, my word for this year is purpose, and
okay.
I actually
Balance and
responded.
purpose. Those are good words.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because like I just want to do everything with purpose. But the purpose of this pod is we're gonna put each other onto some stuff. So I feel like let's just jump right into it. First topic, give it to me.
So hit me with an idea that you've had over the past couple weeks.
Okay, can I
Can
give you two ideas?
the more the merrier.
Here's the first idea. Okay, my first idea is where do I get all my ideas? Okay. I get all my best ideas. Where do you think? I'm actually going to ask you this question. Where do you think I get all my best ideas?
I feel like you're either like a shower guy or a sitting on the couch, like late as fuck and just chilling kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, my best ideas are in the shower. You had it
Oh, I
right the
had a
first
number one.
time.
Okay, yeah,
Okay. So my problem with my shower ideas is I have so many ideas in the shower, like
but you can't
all
write
my
them
best.
down.
Yeah, I can't write them down, and so I'm always thinking like, and again, with these ideas, they're always half-baked. I'm not actually gonna most of them I'm not gonna go through with, but, like, what I would love is some, waterproof whiteboard thing that I can write down my shower ideas and notes. Just need something that's conducive to a shower. I don't
Yeah, yeah,
probably like I don't know if like a marker or recorder, something where I could get my ideas down because what I tend to do is come up with all these ideas and then I scramble mode when I get out of the shower, grab my phone, I'm dripping wet, like trying to get it down in my notes.
yeah,
So that's one idea I have. And here's my second idea. And maybe it's kind of been done in some ways, but I was thinking about like shared office space, like WeWorks, right?
yeah.
And I haven't been to a gym like in a while. And I was thinking, like, I wish there was a like shared office space where it was like office space. In the middle is like the locker room. On the other side is like the gym and I was thinking about WeWork. I came up with a name. It's called WeWorkout. I've trademarked that. No, I haven't trademarked the name, but just and like I know like Equinox like does that sort of thing
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
in some way, but this is like a franchise in my mind that's like specific to half work, half working out. That's the
Okay,
idea.
I like it. I like it. That's interesting. I think that like that's a drastic jump from a waterproof whiteboard to that, and I love it. Um,
Yeah. What's your
for
idea?
for me, like as you talk about where your ideas come from, I was thinking about it too. I have the same problem, just not with what when I think of my ideas, it's mostly like when I'm falling asleep. So I have like 10 different ideas of falling asleep, and I don't want to like get up and like get my phone and start typing them out because I'm trying to sleep. But so then I'm like trying to remember all night, like, oh, yeah, I remember that one thing I was thinking about, like, let me fill it in the morning. But so I have the same problem. I don't know how I would combat that to do. But so my idea is around I have a lot of peers who have been solo traveling and just like even myself, like when I'm on work travel, I what I was thinking about was like I enjoy like eating meals by myself and I really enjoy like, you know, the culinary experience, all that stuff. But it would be nice to like have an app. I want to like develop an app where individuals, other professionals, other people your age, not your age, whoever is in whatever city, so it's geo location based, and I'm able to you know, see people's profiles and kind of like Tinder, but not at all in the sense that like I just want to have a good conversation, man. Like so,
Uh-huh.
me and Johnny, he's like a lawyer, young lawyer, works at wherever, and he's interested in sports as well, whatever. He likes Italian food. Then Johnny and I go connect, like kind of like link their professional connections.
Okay.
Girl, guy, I don't care. But I'm saying like this is for people who are again either like solo traveling for work, solo traveling for pleasure, just to be able to meet new people and enjoy, you know, a dinner or whatever that is. Because I feel like you know it can't be too intimate. I feel like a dinner is like the right spot to connect and talk to someone. And I just think that like again, we have so much value to learn from people across the world that I think that something like this could be interesting. Again, half baked, but that's
So
my idea.
basically, like what I'm getting from you is almost like something that is in between a LinkedIn and like a Tinder because it's not like you're
Yeah.
not like dating, but you
Oh
want to
yeah.
go and but you don't want to meet somebody on like a professional level. It's more so like just to have conversations with and like what it yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying to try to wrap my head around it.
Yeah. Just I guess just to conversate with to meet someone new who's in that city as well. I don't know.
Uh-huh. That's cool. Okay, I could get down with that. I'm gonna throw one last idea at you. This one's totally half baked. Okay, um, I got my haircut yesterday, um, and I was thinking like, I wish there was some machine that I could put my head in where like I get a good haircut, right? That the next time I go back, it's almost like you know how those like sometimes like the old ladies they have those things they put over their head. I don't even know what's going on there with their hair, like they're getting their hair done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If I get a good haircut, I wish I could just go back and they put that thing on my head and it's just like
The same.
some computer AI generated thing and it just gives me the same haircut. So I don't have to start from square one every single time, you know, like in the future maybe
Yeah.
it's gonna put a lot of barbers out of work, but I just wish I could replicate a good haircut. Like it's so hit or miss, I feel.
No, I'm with you on that. Yeah, 'cause hair, one bad haircut and that's you're done. So
Yeah, you're done for what, like a couple weeks?
yeah, bro. I'm a hat guy, so I can make
Me
do,
too.
but yeah, bro. No, that's a good one. I like this idea segment, man. I think that as we go along, it'll be interesting to see how the ideas continue to evolve. But so
For
let's jump to the next.
yeah,
I'm gonna hit you with one. I'm gonna hit you with music.
music,
Any
okay.
any music that has caught your attention. I know we talked about this a little bit, but hit me.
Yeah. So the music that is on repeat right now is that Metro Booming Heroes and Villains album. So
Yes,
good.
sir.
It's
Crazy.
crazy. It's crazy. And listen, I just so like I mean, I'm sure you already know this. I love all music, but growing up in New York, just was a big hip hop rap guy. Grew up on Jay Z, Nas, Wu
Yeah,
Tang,
yeah.
Biggie, all that stuff. Um, I had an older brother who I was very heavily influenced by, and he was always into rap music. And then my musical taste kind of expanded, but as I got older, I always loved rap music. And then um, I fell in love with like Atlanta rap in the last whatever 10 years.
Yeah.
And so when I think it was, I don't know if it was Dirty Sprite or one of the Future albums where I got introduced kind of to like Metro. And I just remember thinking this guy is incredible as a producer. And then over the last couple of years, like with 21 Savage and a couple other of these artists, Migos that he's worked with, I think he's one of the top producers. And then this album is just next level. It's really like it sounds like the soundtrack for Joker. Like it sound like every song is just so uh like cinematic in a way. And then man, the songs
Crazy.
with Don Tolliver, oh man,
What's your
it's just
what's your favorite beat?
my what's my favorite beat? I think that I love how like the switch up just from that first like the John Legend song into the Future song, but the Too Many Nights with Don Tolliver, I
Very
am
nice.
like, yeah, I can listen to that song over and over right now. Incredible.
I got
What
you.
about you? What about you? I know I know you love this
Ni
album too.
Niagara Falls.
Yeah, yeah.
That one, bro, just
Wait,
the
who's on Niagara Falls again? Remind me.
I wanna
Oh,
say
that's a
21.
21
21
and
Travis,
Travis, right?
I believe. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bro, every song I was holy shit. Yeah, I was
There's
driving and I was just like, "This is crazy." I didn't even realize he dropped the new album until, like, the day after Christmas Day, and I was like, "Oh, like, I gotta give this a listen," and then listen to the whole thing, and there wasn't, like when you listen to an album for the first time and you're like, "Ah, that's okay, banger, that's shit, banger." This was like, "Oh, that fucking banger. Oh, I couldn't find one that was like, "Oh,
no
this is."
skips.
No, no, which is I don't remember the last album what there was no skips. Transparently. Do you? I what
No, I mean, like, look, I thought that the Drake and 21 album was great. That was, like, probably the one before that that I thought was, like, the last really great rap album I've listened to. I think a lot of times when you have these compilation albums where it's like, he's got Future, he's got 21, he's got
Yeah,
Young Thug, he's got Don Toliver, Travis Scott, like star-studded. A lot of times it doesn't feel like cohesive in a way. So it's just such a credit to this guy as like a musical genius, like his beats, his whole style. But I was just blown away by how good it was. And that's the thing I've been listening to a lot. So I want to do a quick segue and like really switch it up and go a book. What is a book that you're reading, and what are any takeaways from that book? Because I know I have one that I've been wanting to tell you about myself.
yeah, yeah. So I feel like I'm about 9 years late on this one, but
Yeah,
the 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss always
yeah,
been one that's on my list, and I've kind of, always skimmed over it because I listened to Tim Ferriss pods and just felt like, oh, I know his mo. Um, but yeah, so I kind of read that over the break, and man, I mean, I have a few takeaways, but I think like the biggest thing for me was just him preaching because it hit close to home. In one of our like very first pilots, me and you talked about this, but was the fact that like the system pushes you to go to college, and when you come out of high school and you potentially don't know what you want to do, you're just like, oh, let me go, into science, or let me go into arts, or let me whatever. But you go, you pay that money, you do that degree, and it's probably not providing you the most value, especially if you don't know what you want to do at that specific time. And so like him preaching, like, like that he found that travel is super valuable, and that you can, spend a lot less time doing hard work and doing like what you don't want to be doing, and a lot more time focusing your energy on things that like you want to be doing. For him, that was travel, and finding ways to, you know make money on the go. I just think that, again, with the internet, with the opportunities that he kind of portrays in the book, it just it's inspiring, man. It's inspiring to
yeah,
see that like you can do things that you once couldn't now because of the opportunities that A, the internet provides us, and B, our mindset provides us. Like it's I think that the book helped me see the world in a different way, in the sense that like, yeah, it's not all about the 9 to 5. Like you can do other things, and you can experience other perspectives. And for me, it's yeah, I want a simple life. So I think that like, yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I think it was a good read. And I'm gonna keep, I take notes, so I'm gonna kind of keep diving back in, and using it when I can. But definitely a great read for anyone who hasn't. I recommend it. How about
yeah,
you?
and I'm sure you could relate to the whole travel tip, just like based on your childhood of moving, kind of like from place to place and experiencing all the things in different locations. Um,
Definitely.
somebody or there was a question that was asked on the 1:37 p.m. Twitter handle the other day, like tag somebody that inspired you, and I tagged Tim Ferriss because, as you know, I've always been like a huge fan of
For
his.
sure.
And I remember reading that book myself. It must have been years ago at this point, and anybody that comes through with like a revolutionary idea, especially one where it's like, just because the world has operated in this one way for years, right? Of like 9 to 5, like, you know, you have to put in hours and grind and do all these things. And then somebody comes along and is like, actually, you don't. You don't
Yeah,
necessarily need to stick to that script. Like there's another way to do it. And I mean, man, first off, as a title, that's an eye-catching title, right? Like somebody, especially somebody that wants that balance in their life or just
definitely.
doesn't subscribe to the whole like kill yourself just for your work, just like and wanting to be able to experience the joys of life outside of work. But yeah, I remember reading that and being, my eyes were opened and just feeling like he's right. You need somebody to sometimes have that revolutionary thought and put that out into the world, right? And It's a great book. My book that I am I'm just finishing with is about Genghis Khan. It's called Genghis Khan and the Making of the Modern World. It was written by Jack Weatherford, and yeah, the way I kind of like source books is if I see enough people that I respect like mention a book that I haven't read, at a
Yeah,
certain point I'm just like, okay, I'm hearing it from a couple different people. Like I gotta check it out. I'm starting to get curious about it. And my only kind of thoughts around Genghis Khan were just from I don't even this is probably before your time, but the movie what was it called? Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Have you ever seen that movie?
don't believe I have, no.
Oh wow, what a classic. Keanu Reeves like first movie, like
Okay.
breakout movie,
Yeah,
comedy, hilarious. I actually wish I could go back and see it. But the premise basically being that they get some like time machine and they go back and they like meet all of these people throughout history. And I think it's for like a class assignment, like that they have to write a report or do something like that. And so at one point they like go back to Mongolia and they see Genghis Khan and like he's portrayed in this way as being like almost like, like this barbarian who's just like
yeah,
like a savage who's just like, women and food and just like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
excess. And then I read this book and it's just wow. It's my takeaway first off is this guy's probably arguably top 5 most influential people in the history of the world, okay? Um, from a, like, conquering of worlds, or like of different places, like, he conquered all of Asia, all of the Middle East, parts of Europe, and he did it in this way that was so, like, calculated and strategic, he's the Popovich of war, or like the
No,
Pep
legit.
of war,
Yeah,
and but then the part that was really the most interesting was like turns out he's one of the most progressive thinkers of his time, and so he was very much about diplomacy, very much about foreign relations, international trade, like a founding father of international trade, a founding father of religious freedom. So his empire, he would conquer all these places, and there were Christians, there were Buddhists, there were Catholics, there were Jews, there were every single religion at a time when like that was not the case in most places, right? But
yeah.
like what I loved is that basically he would go to war and he would never provoke war. Like it would always be he would send an envoy and he would just be like, I want to have, I want to be able to have trade, and like the Silk Route is like
Yeah,
very critical to that whole time period. And then what would happen is he would send an envoy of like ambassadors to a sultan or a czar or some king at the time or a pope. They would basically kill all of his envoy, and he would just because they would be like, okay, we don't want to go to war, like we want to have like diplomatic relations. They would kill all his people, and he would just be like, all right, so then we're going to go to war. And then his war strategy was like incredible. He would do all of these different things that honestly reminded me a lot of sports, like he would send a
just in
first
terms of, like, the
wave.
tactics.
Yeah, like he'd send this first wave to like surprise attack people. Then then he would like retreat and everybody be like, "Oh, like maybe we're okay." Then like he would send another wave and then they would come after him and or his like like warriors, his fighters. They would retreat back, and then once they were all stretched out, his second wave would come in and they would come from the sides, and they would also absorb all of like the technology and the weapons and like so once they would conquer a country, like he was so smart about like let's get all the scholars, let's get all the engineers,
Yeah,
and then he would literally take them in and make and give them rights within his empire. And so I just learned so much about this guy, and it's one of those things. It's so funny. Like every single time I read something like this, I want to talk to my wife about it, and she's just like, she wants no part of it. She's like, I
okay.
don't care. Oh, so I'm like, all right, I'll tell Cal about it. I'll tell Cal.
Yeah, no, that's so what's like, from what you knew about Genghis Khan before the book versus after, what's your biggest like takeaway change?
I think one thing is that it's crazy how in history, like this game of telephone where they basically realized all these scholars because it was lost in history. There were writings about him, but like they got lost. Everything was highly protected. There was a lot of stuff where like communist Russia was very trying to like keep it all under wraps because he was very revolutionary and kind of like his democratic values, his liberal values. And then once they were able to, all these independent, basically researchers and scientists, and were able to uh, put together their notes and their findings and decipher all the text, what they realized was the story of Genghis Khan was vastly different than everything that most people know, right? And
Yeah,
he would come in and obviously he would conquer like a Western, a European nation. And what they would say is he's a savage, his people are, savages, they're barbarians. But really, once that you peel back the layers, you realize that, well, it's actually that wasn't the case. And not only was that not the case, it was the complete opposite. This guy was a radical thinker, was just so ahead of his time, and it's just one of those things where it's eye opening. Like I couldn't believe it, and inspiring, and just super educational. So so many things, so many takeaways. It's kind of hard to wrap my head around, but I've really enjoyed the book.
what are your thoughts on the quote, "History is written by the victor"?
I feel like in this instance, it wasn't,
I
like in
agree.
this
I
instance,
agree.
it really wasn't. And I don't know if part of it was it seemed like Genghis Khan didn't necessarily want the spotlight. Like that wasn't what he was about. He wasn't like like a traditional like king who, like bow down to me. And he had an empire that
Like
was
Alex
very
the
much
Great
What's that?
versus like someone like Alex the Great.
I don't know, like, candidly, I don't know as
That's
much
fair.
about Alexander the
Okay.
Great, and by the way, Alexander the Great was in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, so maybe that's the next biography I read, but, like, in comparison to other kings at the time where it's very much like dictatorship,
Yeah, I
like,
want to be known. Yeah,
any
yeah.
like, worship the king, that it was much more like a meritocracy, and anybody that was like a lower level person could ascend to the highest ranks just based on their merits. And in terms of, you know there was no like nepotism within his family. So, again, like to me it's very like different than most leaders of the time. If you think about like what it was like back in the 1200s is that time period. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff to kind of unpack from it. I don't want to bore you with all the details. What I'd say is read it and then let's have the real book club retrospective because I'd love to get your whole take on it once you have. One thing I'm curious about is a memorable show or movie you've watched recently.
Yeah, so I probably watched this about a week ago, and the reason it's memorable is because the viewing experience was different. So the show that I believe it's new, it's on Netflix called Kaleidoscope, and it's only 7 episodes, and the show is about these seven delinquents, let's say, who are going on a heist for 7 billion worth of whatever it is they're stealing. Um,
Okay.
and so the interesting thing about the show though is that like the preview says you can watch in any order. So the 7 episodes are just named colors. So it'll be like blue, yellow, green, red, and obviously there's a description like so it sets the timeline. But so like I don't watch from like episode 1 to 7. Like I went in, watched like red first, then bang, I went to yellow just because like it said, so I wanted to get like an interesting viewing experience. And so like, yeah, the thing that I found super interesting is that I watched all 7 in a random order, and obviously like the last episode potentially wasn't the big heist, but it didn't matter because like they did such a good job of creating these 7 episodes that like all the context that I needed was there. I it kept me curious, and like yeah, I just thought that I had never seen that actually with the show before, where like you could watch in any order, and they were promoting that. So I definitely
It's
for
almost
like
like a choose your own adventure in a way,
yeah,
like
exactly.
one of those books, yeah.
Exactly, and the character development's good. I also some of the like core values and morality, even though it is again a heist show, but I thought that just yeah, in terms of creativity, like from the director, really cool.
Got
Kaleidoscope.
it. I got a Netflix show that I think you could appreciate just based on your football, soccer
Football,
background.
football, football.
I caught this doc over the break called "Take the Ball, Pass the Ball," and it's all about the Barcelona team from I guess it. Man, I don't even know how many years ago at this point, but it's the one. It
It
starts out with the team that had like Thierry Henry, Eto'o, Messi,
would be like oh
and then
07, oh 08.
yeah, and then but it really focuses on when Pep takes over as coach, and then it's like that team where it's like Messi, Iniesta, Xavi, Puyol, Piqué, um, and it's incredible because I remember like I'm one of those guys. I know that you're big into the sport, right? And like I'm a huge sports guy myself, but I go in waves with different sports. Like I'm a diehard Knicks guy, but when the Knicks are bad, like it's hard for me to watch. You know,
Yeah,
with soccer, I got super into soccer. Like I think it was the last summer of my last year in college was the World Cup where it was in Germany, and it just got me so into the sport. And then afterwards, I started watching a lot of like English Premier League, and then La Liga, and right around then or just thereafter was that team, and it's those teams where it's like this Barcelona team was kind of like the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry, like heyday team, right? Where it's like just beautiful to watch, and their whole strategy where they would kind of
do you,
make it so you. I mean, the
you
show's
know what the
called
brand of football is called?
what's that?
Are you familiar with like Pep is known for playing one way? It's like a it's Are you
Well, I
familiar?
learned that in the doc. I learned it in the
So
documentary. Yeah,
can
yeah.
you tell me?
Well, basically, just taking the ball and passing the ball right away, right? Like kind of control and then
Which is
pass.
called like so Pep has a brand of football. Tiki Taka is the answer I was
Tiki
looking
taka.
for. That's what it's called.
Got it.
They play Tiki Taka.
Uh,
Did they not? They
you know
didn't
what?
mention that in the.
They probably did, and it probably just went right over my head. But that whole thing where all of a sudden, like you have, it's like all to get 3-on-2s and like be
Yeah,
able to have like this matchup where
yeah,
you have
yeah.
more people than the defenders, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, because they play tiki taka, which is like that they're passing into overloads and then creating situations to your point where like again they're looking for 3v2s, 4v3s, looking to overload certain positions in the pitch, and then when they lose the ball, they press within 6 seconds so that like they already have men close to the ball. So when as soon as like Messi loses the ball, 5 of them just fucking go try to win the ball back within 6 seconds. If they don't win it, then they all just drop back.
Right,
But
right. And, but just watching the highlights and like, first off, this is Messi in his prime. The Messi highlights from back then are just out of this world. Like he is
I,
incredible. But the fact like look, the best teams in all sports, especially in soccer, are the ones where they're all bought into the team and like there's a chemistry that's just undeniable. It's almost, there's no selfishness. It's just kind
for
of like
sure.
freewheeling. And I can't think of another team like that in that sport where every single guy on the team was a guy. Like each guy was like monumental. Like I
Yeah,
just remember
the
those
whole
guys
11.
so clearly in my, yeah, the whole 11. Um so I just loved it. I don't know. It was just it was great to watch. It's great to watch greatness. It's like watching Kobe, it's like watching MJ, it's like watching Tom Brady, right? This team um was just one of those teams that it'll never be replicated, and I feel like the style of play has been replicated after the fact because it worked so well during that time. And it's kind of similar. I always kind of compare it to basketball because basketball is my sport, and it's like the Steph Curry, Clay Thompson, Draymond team were Splash Brothers and like shooting threes, and this whole departure from the way basketball was always played with a big man and like
Yeah.
and slowing it down, just kind of going small ball. Kind of the same thing. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, highly recommend that.
Would you just quickly, would you say that, especially after that World Cup win, Messi's the greatest athlete of all time?
I'm not going to say he's the greatest athlete of all time, but I think there's a very strong case for he's the greatest. He's the greatest football player, proper football player of all time, right? Like, and then in
I,
terms of greatest athlete of all time, he's in the conversation. But it's you could have that argument. It's just a
no, I
matter
was
of what
curious,
sport you're partial to, right?
for sure.
Why you feel that way? He's the greatest of all time,
I,
like
I
any
think,
sport.
yeah. I don't know who we could have like MJ. I don't. I think Messi. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, like,
Well,
look, think about Pele, right? He's won more World Cups, right? Like,
for
so
sure. How
he's only
long?
won one World Cup.
Yeah, but we got to look at how long his career was, how many Ballon d'Ors, how many Champions Leagues, how many La Ligas, how many different leagues did he win, like how many goals, assists, led for 20 years, bro. The pro-
I have a friend. No, I know it's he has a very convincing resume. I have a friend who's Argentinian, diehard, Messi guy.
yeah,
He contends that Maradona is better than Messi. He'll always say that Maradona is
Maradona's
better than
crazy.
Messi.
Yeah, you sent me
Yeah,
that video. Maradona's. I think if Maradona had the discipline Messi had,
yeah.
Maradona's just it was a partier, bro. Maradona
I
was
know, I
showing
know.
up the games like fucking drunk, like,
No,
like
but so was Lawrence Taylor, right? Like there are some of these guys it didn't even matter. They just show up and they show out because the natural athleticism is just like next level. Let's talk social trends or pieces of content that you've seen lately that are kind of on your mind. Um, Actually, would you mind if I gave you one?
sure, no, you go ahead.
I have a couple. I have a couple because, bro, I've been going down the TikTok and IG rabbit hole, especially TikTok is bad. But I just want the first one that I just have to throw out there because it's so wrong, but yet it's so funny. And I feel like it really kind of captures this weird moment in time is the one of kids videoing their parents, but specifically their mothers, and it's this trend of pretending that one of their mother's like favorite celebrities or entertainers is dead. So they'll be like,
Oh yeah, I've seen this. Yeah,
right, they'll be like John Bon Jovi dead at 54, and their mother will be like, "What? No!" And by the way, John Bon Jovi must be older than that. So, or like, just like random Drew Barrymore dead at 52, and it's just like, "Oh no! Oh my god!" And it's so fucked up. It's so wrong, but it's you
bro,
can't help yourself but laugh at
my
watching it, right?
my sisters both did that at Christmas dinner. Like to
Really?
and I didn't know about this trend. and I forget who they said. They said someone big, man. They said like it was someone Bon Jovi like, but it was like some sort of
Yeah.
singer. And like my dad, myself, and my mom were just like, "Holy shit, how'd he die? Like he's dead." They're like, "Oh, like cancer." Like, bro, we're all like kind of like sitting there like, "Oh shit." Everyone like was kind of silent for a couple of minutes, and then my sister was just like, "Oh yeah, we're fucking with you." Like, so yeah, I've had that one firsthand. That's funny that you said that.
It's crazy. It's crazy. What else? There was another one that I sent you on some like serious stuff. This is like in complete opposite direction, but it's weird. Like you see these videos that are like mindless or that are entertaining, whatever, and then you see one where it like hits you, like in the feels type of thing. And so I sent you this video, and it was a of a guy who was basically um talking about he was like 40 something years old. He had two young kids, and he was saying like every day he wakes up, he goes
Yeah,
to his job
Irish
early in
guy.
the morning, right? Yeah. And like his kids are like, "Don't leave, daddy, don't leave." And then like, you know, what happens? And then he gets home, he's got no energy for his wife, he's got no energy for his kids, and he's just like, "How much I can't sustain this," you know? And like, man, I felt that because I just, sometimes I feel that same way where I drop off my kids at, at school or at early care, and then I run into the city. And then I get home and I'm like, I get home after they're sleeping, or I get home and I'm just dead. And sometimes I'm just thinking to myself like, this is such a weird world that I live in, where I spend most of my time with people that I work with and not with my family. And I don't know, just threw me for a little bit of a loop there.
4 hour work week, bro.
4-hour work week indeed, man, for sure. What about you? Anything that you've seen recently?
Something that's interesting that's been popping up on my feed a lot recently is clips of David Goggins. You know David Goggins?
Yeah. Yep.
The hardest man alive. No, I just think that like, yeah, his message and in some of the clips like from previous Joe Rogan pods or some of the clips of him working out. Um, yeah, he's been someone that's like consistently popping up on my feed, and so I've been looking more into him, and I actually kind of want to read one of his books. Um, I think it's something fire, stay hard, fire something. Um, but yeah, I think him, and then just that's like the serious side you did see, and then to like the lighter side, there's this one guy who I'll send you some of his stuff, but he does like these videos where it's like, oh, all the dads are at the cookout, and like he mocks, or he's like, oh, that one, teacher who's angry after the fire bell, or like, and he just does like these like kind of like takes on situations that are nostalgic for most of us, because like that's totally the fucking teacher who's pissed off at all the kids because we're quiet during the fire alarm or whatever. And so this
Yeah.
guy like he does great takes on like he ends the shift, and it's like, oh, him and the boys talking, and he's like, oh, Jim, like let's go out, let's get laid tonight, and Jim's like, yeah, yeah, for sure, like, and then like all the plans flop, like it all happens in the parking lot, but he's just great like acting and great entertainment piece. So yeah, I'll get his name for next time, but I was looking at his page yesterday, and yeah, great entertainment
It's
on
crazy,
TikTok.
bro. It's crazy how much talent there is on TikTok. Like, there's so many funny people. There's this guy that I was talking to our producer Zach about, Kyle Gordon, who does only old timey like
Yeah,
characters. So he does like like the greasers in 1950s, and like he'll do like lady at like a Yankees game in the 20. It's just so funny. But um the what was that first piece you were saying? The first piece of content, because I had something I
got
wanted to ask you
David
about. I
Goggins,
forget. Oh, Goggins, yeah. So Goggins is an inspiring guy.
crazy.
He's the one that did the book with, yeah, he's the one that did the book with Jesse Itzler, or
Yeah,
Jesse Itzler wrote the
yeah,
book
yeah, yeah.
living with living with a Marine or something like that. That guy is crazy, man. If you like really go deep dive on
Oh
that
yeah.
guy, like next level,
What
just takes your yeah, taking your body past places like you would never even think you could.
Yeah,
He's a
the stories
crazy
like
inspiring guy.
he's like I'm pretty sure Itzler was saying this or someone was where it's like, oh yeah, Goggins told me to wake up. We woke up. He's like, do 10 pull-ups. He got 7, and
Right.
then he's like, "Okay, now do 20." And he's like, "Goggins, I only got 7." Like, he's like, "No, that's you're fucking wrong. You can do it." He's like, "You we're not leaving till you do 100." And this guy's there for like 6 hours, but he did 100 and he's feeling big after. Like, yeah, Goggins is, cool.
I saw that clip, bro. That clip was amazing
You know
where
what
he
I'm
was
talking
like, "I
about?
can't do
Yeah.
anymore." Yeah, and he was just like, no, you that's the wrong mindset because 'cause you're gonna fucking do it. You're gonna fucking do it." Love him. I want a takeaway from your personal life and a takeaway from your professional life. So let's start with takeaway from your personal life.
I think a takeaway from my personal life, just where I'm at right now, is again, going back to that balance piece, just with being mindful of A, where my mental health is at, and B, where my physical health is at. I think that my mental health always seems to be in a steady spot, whereas my physical health can kind of waver. And so, yeah, I just think, getting into a routine, a better schedule, which I've done over the past couple of weeks in terms of sleep, hydration, diet, healthy dose of sun, vitamins, whatever. That's kind of the biggest takeaway from my personal life, not taking anything for granted, especially since I haven't been able to eat solid food in about a week, which seems like something that
Oh,
should
man.
be, standard. But some people probably can't ever, man. So it's just one of those things where like life is good, with whatever you can get. So that's my personal life, and then professional. I think it's a takeaway for me, and I always joke around with my dad about this. So like being, home for the break, and he had a few meetings, and I had a few meetings, and he works in HR. But his meetings are like an hour, like, "Oh, Susie, like, how are you?" Like,
Right.
"Oh, yeah,"
Yeah.
like, they probably haven't got into any meat and bones, like, of the work for, like, the first 45 minutes. So I was going, I'm
Yeah.
like, "Motherfucker, like, you could have a 15-minute meeting, like, you're wasting so much time. You could probably work, like, a couple hours a day and get all your shit done, but you just fucking talk."
Yeah.
And, so where I'm going with that is a takeaway is being able to continue to develop those relationships in the workplace, but in an efficient manner. Um,
Uh-huh.
because again, how fast. I'm sure we're both in the Vayner ecosystem. Everything moves 100 miles an hour, and so being able to continue to grow those relationships in the workplace, but also be efficient and get the tasks done, I think is like something that has been a takeaway from me coming back from this holiday period where everyone's been going slower, now wrapping things up again. It's
Mhm.
just like again being able to be as efficient as possible, but continue to develop those relationships and grow as a team and build that chemistry.
Yeah, that makes sense. Kind of goes into my professional takeaway, but I'll start with the personal one just being, like, coming out of that break where I had that time by myself, all I was thinking was, all married people should be given probably 1 day a week to just be by themselves and, like, get time away, and so maybe, like, you know, couples need to figure out how to do that, but for your health, for your mental health, like, it was so good, and I honestly feel like I should get at least 3 of those each quarter. Um, it's it's crazy. You don't realize it until you have that time off of just the constant grind of having to be on call for, for your kids and just having all these daily responsibilities. Um, I don't know. I just I'm really trying to put some focus on finding those times where I could take time for myself to just be able to decompress and be able to kind of, have that solitude or that quiet in my head. because I just feel like it's so beneficial. I think
I'm with you.
another just quick personal takeaway is coming back to work, and dropping my kids off. And, my youngest, he was not having it like those first couple of days. And it's just reminded me of the patience to have, you really learn about patience when you have children, and just trying to be empathetic to your kids that are just they're kids. And I'm like, come on, we gotta go. I gotta catch a train, like, come on. And I'm like getting frustrated, and I'm having a level set. And so it really teaches you a lot being a parent, particularly about patience and understanding, and trying to just get on the same level as somebody else, whether it be your kid or just a person at work. It teaches you a lot in that respect. And then as far as professional life, I think it kind of bleeds into it. It's just this thing of, it's all about like the relationships. And, I think I realized over the break, like, I need to check in with people more. I need to like talk to them. You're talking about your dad and like the breaking bread with
Crazy.
his employee. And right. And that's like old school in a lot
Definitely.
of ways. And then the new school is about kind of being more efficient, right? And trying to just get work done. At the same time, relationships are everything, right? And we've had a big emphasis put on people coming back into the office, and being able to have actually FaceTime instead of doing the Zoom, Google Meet stuff. And the honest truth is, there's a big difference of being like in the same room as somebody and being able to just talk and relate to somebody and catch up. And that's something that I think I don't want to take for granted. I think, the other thing is just relinquishing control. You can't control everything, and just being able to not, micromanage and delegate and defer to people that you have trust in, I think is a big thing that I've definitely very much wanted to focus on this year. And if I'm able to do that, then being able to actually focus on the things that matter, the meaningful things, the things that move the needle, the things I'm passionate about, as opposed to just those daily tasks and daily responsibilities that you could just be working on those for the rest of your life.
Let's hear a bad habit that you are currently working through or you've worked through recently.
Yeah. So I'm just going to be straight up about this because I've been grappling with like whether or not I should talk about it, but like I'm just like fuck it at the end of the day. Is so I smoke weed. Okay? Like I have pretty much my entire life. It's legal in New York now. Um which is what a time to be alive. Um and and yet it is one of these things that is a bad habit, and also, like, I wouldn't say it's a good habit, but it has its pros and cons, right? I I believe that I can operate very well when I'm on it, but I don't like smoke before I go to work. It's more of like an end of the day type of thing. And obviously it has a lot of downside things, right? I snack. I do a lot of late night snacking because I get the munchies, right? Sometimes it makes me a little bit more lethargic, whatever. But like my diet is the thing that it really kind of affects, and maybe some of my sleeping patterns and that sort of thing. On the other side, it has like some medicinal properties, and it it always gives me like some perspective sometimes when I'm like in a rut. And and then there's also the times where it gives me really good ideas and helps me be creative. And so it's this thing I grapple with where it's like, is it something that I do in moderation? Is it something that is really bad for me? Or is it something where I know it's not all bad for me because I feel it makes me feel good. It makes me like, sometimes it really clears me. I know it doesn't affect everybody the same way, but I've had this love-hate relationship with it for my entire life. And my parents, were hippies. I went to Woodstock, and my entire family, like, we smoke. And so now it's this thing where it's like not taboo as much because it's legal, but it's still taboo. The other day I went out to dinner with friends, and like me and my buddy we're almost 40 years old. We went outside to the parking lot, we smoked a joint, and then like some older people came out, and I was like, oh shit. Like I was like trying to hide it. I'm like, wait a second, it's legal. But yeah, it's this weird thing where I still feel some sort of way about it, but I just have such a complicated relationship with it in a way, you know?
Would you say that you have an addictive personality in general?
I would say yes. I definitely have my things that like are hard for me to kick, and that might be one of them. And look, if it was all negative, I think it would be potentially easier to just say fuck it, like let me do away with it. But there's this whole other side of it where it helps me just come up with creative ideas, and it gets my brain thinking in this different way, and it gives me this perspective, and that's why I can't. Like that's why I'm unwilling to to stop.
Yeah, that's where the shower ideas are coming from. I got you.
I do get some good shower ideas afterwards, but yeah. So that's probably one that's on my mind. How about you?
Um, I would say that a bad habit I talked about last time was the sleep piece, like
Yeah.
not getting enough sleep. And I would say I've actively made a massive effort to shift there. And I'm an 8 hour a night for the last like 3 weeks kind of guy. And I'm keeping that all 2023. Do not call me before a certain time. I'm fucking on my health grind, bro. I'm not gonna,
I like it.
I miss a call from the boss, man. It'll be because you know what? Again, health is wealth. And so, I'm gonna that's how I'm starting the year. And so, yeah, no, I think the sleep piece is probably still like my worst habit that I'm working through. Um, Other than that, yeah, I would say diet as well. To your point, like just making
Yeah.
sure um, eating a balanced diet. I'm like a super big meat eater, so like sometimes I won't even eat like vegetables. So I'll go like a few days with like just eating like steak and potato. I guess I'm not considering potatoes a vegetable. I'm more starch, but just like steak and
Yeah.
potatoes or like whatever chicken and rice for lunch, and I just like won't eat any like greens or anything of color. So just like actively think about like, oh shit, I should have some like broccoli or whatever. Eating more vegetables.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta eat your veggies,
yeah,
man.
bro.
You can't just be strictly carnivore. I'll say one other thing is that I have kids, right? And so, one habit that I'm also trying to fix is, like, watching what I say around them, because man, they're like sponges, and they're like they parrot every single thing I say, and sometimes I catch myself getting angry or losing my patience, and man, it's tough. And then you have to, like, be like, wait a second, my kids are 7 and 4. You know what I mean? Like, I'm clearly I'm a big influence on them. When I was 7 and 4, like, what was I like?
Yeah, yeah,
I was a kid, and
yeah.
so it's like it's one of those constant things to remind myself. I feel like I'm a kid still myself, and I'm always like, it's crazy that I had kids. The last thing, and then we should probably wrap
Yeah.
this up because we've gone over time. Is what is a short term goal that you have, or something that you're looking forward to, in the next whatever weeks, months, year ahead?
Yeah. So a short term goal, obviously, and I think this is both of our answers. But a getting this pot off the ground, getting consistent. So that's kind of top of mind. And then other than that, I think that I have a few other short term goals in mind in terms of like fitness goals. I want to be able to run a 4.5 again. I want to be able to, you know, be back in my target weight. Um, 175, by the way. Um,
Real 175?
yeah,
That's your target
what's
because
that?
I've been 175 for my entire life. Like that, I cannot get off that number. I'm
Really,
stuck on 175 for
175
the
is
most.
like when
Yeah,
I'm like when I was like elite athlete. Like I would go into camp at like 175 and I would drop to 170 after running. Like 175 is like
got it.
my go in, I'm strong as fuck, and then 170 is like my okay, I'm fast now.
Right.
I'm
That makes
probably like
sense.
160 right now, honestly, maybe 155. Um, you're also a lot taller than me though. You're a
Yeah, I'm
skinny guy, yeah.
skinny. I'm skinny.
You're a skinny
I'm a skinny guy.
guy.
That's me.
But yeah, so sorry, and then yeah, something I mean, bro, I'm looking forward to just in the short term, um, the Waste Management Open. You know, a few of the buddies do a annual trip. Are you familiar with the golf tournament?
I am.
Yeah,
Yes.
so a couple people got houses in Phoenix, and it's a quick flight from Edmonton, and that whole 16 with the beers flowing and the drinks and the Arizona sun and the beautiful woman and the great dudes and just everyone. The vibes are immaculate. So
Yeah.
yeah, we've got that scheduled. We do Vegas, and then for the weekend before, and then we do Phoenix for that weekend. And the Super Bowl is there that weekend as well. So if
Oh,
the Bills
wow.
make the Super Bowl, I got a big futures bet. So I'm just looking forward to those couple
Yeah.
weekends, just to see what plays out. But
Got it. That sounds like a debaucherous weekend. You hopefully you can not get into too much trouble while you're out there, bro.
I keep it composed. I keep it composed. Like I said, bro, health is
All
wealth.
right.
I'm in bed at 12.
Well,
How about you?
my yeah, my short-term goals are I guess a lot of things around kind of getting back into good shape, exercise, diet, like the things that a lot of people are, in the new year. I being more attentive to my wife, um, being more present with my kids. I know these are kind of like things that everybody says, but sometimes I go down that rabbit hole on where I'm watching TikToks and my kids are on their iPads and I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, let's get off the devices and experience life, right? Like, so that's definitely a big thing from a professional thing, just inspiring the people I work with and doing good work and doing work that I care about. And then very much like I'm looking forward to this pod journey that we're about to go on. I'm hoping that it's not going to be a short-lived one, because look, the basis of this podcast in a lot of ways is developing, right? Personal development, self-improving, and this is our first pod. And did we do a great job? I don't know, but the whole plan is we're going to get better. We're going to do better each time. We're going to see what works. We're going to see what doesn't work, right? We're going to put each other onto things. Hopefully, we're going to have a good time, right? Because when it all comes down to it, you know, nothing really matters that much, right? Like what matters is being fulfilled in your life, doing shit that you care about, being surrounded by the people that you enjoy being around, family, love, all those things. So, I think, I guess just to wrap here, it's like I want this podcast to be something that we can do. And like 6 months from now, or let's make a shorter term goal. 3 months from now that we've done a couple of them and we're feeling good about them. 6 months that we've gotten into a very good rhythm and we're feeling really good. A year out from now, I just hope that we're still doing it. That's my long term goal. Um, and yeah, I think that's what I would say there.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think a year out from now, live on Kimmel, it's pretty realistic, me and you. But yeah, no, I I appreciate all that, and I think let's wrap there.
Thank you for tuning into the Put On Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and don't forget to follow us on social at The Put On Pod. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Put On Podcast. Follow us on social at 1:37 p.m. and at The Put On Pod. The Put On Podcast is a 1:37 p.m. production.